This ordinance has created a turf war.
Either obey the ordinances or leave town.
We're David, they're Goliath.
These amended changes, with Uber not having to vet their drivers with the city of Portsmouth, produce insurance or criminal records, is ludicrous.
We have to stop this here, or it will spread.
Portsmouth, New Hampshire is a small city of about 20,000 people, and it's in the middle of a battle.
Over a year ago, Uber started up in Portsmouth. Against the city ordinances that were written at that time, they were in violation. Anchor Taxi.
Merle White, better known as the Krabby Cabbie, is the owner of Anchor Taxi and has been driving in Portsmouth for 5 years. He and John Paulrero, another cab owner, have been very vocal about their feelings on how the city has handled Uber's presence.
The law in Portsmouth right now is if you want to drive a vehicle for hire, that you need to have a vetted driver and commercial limited liability insurance. And by not producing that paperwork and playing cat and mouse, you're stealing from every taxi driver in this city, and you should be arrested.
The issue is that before Uber arrived, Portsmouth heavily regulated their transportation services. An 11-page ordinance had many requirements, like a state and city inspection, background checks, as well as commercial insurance, which cost several $1,000s per year. That ordinance also limited the maximum number of cabs in the city to just 28. Anyone that drove passengers for hire had to meet these regulations to be considered a legal driver. Since Uber is an international multi-billion-dollar company that provides their own background checks and has a $1 million insurance policy, the City Council recognized that it was time to update the 15-year-old ordinance, and on September 17th, they did just that, making massive revisions and reducing the ordinance to just 3 pages. Jim Splain is the assistant mayor of Portsmouth and has played a key role in revising the ordinance.
We wanted to treat Uber and other ride sharers as a business, and I think that we've done that by saying that these are 2 basic regulations that you must have. Number 1, you have to have liability insurance for riders. Secondly, you have to pass a criminal background check. They have to show us that, though. They can't just tell us. They have to show the process to the chief of police in order for him to sign off on them. There's an obligation of government to make sure that trains and buses, planes, limousines, and cab companies that are legally operating in a community are operating with provisions that protect the riding public. If Uber simply goes to our city clerk's office and goes through the formality of showing that they do indeed have good, valid criminal background checks for all of their drivers and that they have insurance liability, they're going to be able to operate in Portsmouth legally.
While the requirements seem simple in theory, Uber requested changes to the background check provision. There was a section that said you could not drive in Portsmouth if you had been convicted of a misdemeanor in the past 7 years or a felony in the past 15 years. Uber wanted this removed.
My name is Jim Merrill, here representing Uber this evening.
Uber's representative did not reply to a request for an interview. Because Uber's requested changes were not made, they didn't register with the city under the new ordinance and remained illegal. But many Uber drivers continue to operate despite it being against the law.
Now take a look at this. Does this look to you like the work of a government worker tearing this down, or like an angry taxi person? Yeah, definitely an angry taxi person. So we'll just kind of replace it right here. I'm Christopher David. I am the illegal Uber driver. One of many, but probably the most infamous one.
To show his support for Uber, Chris launched an activism campaign he called Free Uber and made sure the whole city knew what was going on. He offered free Uber rides and encouraged people to boycott Portsmouth taxis.
Oh, thank you. This is Uber, free Uber ride for you. We're kind of doing this now because Uber was just made illegal by the City Council.
In Chris's mind, the solution to all of this was simple.
When I went in front of the council, my argument was, let's unshackle the cabs, unshackle everyone. Just get your hands off of it, please, and just let consumers decide. Let the people of Portsmouth use their own judgment in deciding what they want to do.
And it was clear that most residents of Portsmouth wanted Uber.
I think Uber just allows that convenience, you know, where you can pick up your phone, order it, you don't need to have to worry about calling someone, searching for a number.
It's really convenient, it's really easy. I've always had pleasant experiences with the drivers.
Chris's campaign seemed to be working. Even local businesses started showing their support. Taxi drivers like Merle White grew increasingly frustrated.
They're running around the city doing whatever the hell they want and laughing in your face.
A system that they had to obey for more than 15 years had suddenly been thrown out to accommodate these new drivers, and they weren't even obeying the new rules.
Why aren't the ordinances being enforced?
Illegal Uber drivers risk fines of $500 for a first offense and $1,000 for a second offense. Chris giddily drove along, hoping to be the first one to receive a fine.
Oh, police officer. Yes. Oh, we're gonna get some action here, I think. Oh my gosh! Please, please, please. Come and get me, bro. All right, here we go. So we've got multiple police officers. Oh, I wonder if that's an Uber that he pulled over.
It was. And although it wasn't Chris that received a fine, the actual culprit ended up being a much bigger boost to free Uber. A 63-year-old grandmother named Stephanie Franz.
It does make me mad. You know, why should I have to go through this? I mean, I just want to pay my bills, pay some people I owe some money, and move on.
Although Chris didn't get the first official fine, his activism would eventually lead him to his own legal trouble. Although not the kind he anticipated.
I got arrested on a charge of felony wiretapping because of a YouTube video that I put up, which is still up, by the way.
New Hampshire is a two-party consent state. This means that it's illegal to record someone's voice without them knowing about it. And for Chris's video, he did just that.
I was picking up a customer from Daniel Street Tavern. I got a ride request. Bouncer walks up to my window and asks if I'm an Uber.
You Uber?
I am.
Not allowed to come in this town.
About 30 seconds later, waves the cop over to me, so the cop pulls up alongside me. I roll down my window and he's like... He drove off. Customer gets in the car.
Sorry, man.
No worries.
Picking them up anyway.
That's right. At that same moment, a cab comes up and blocks me in.
Are they coming? Wait for your $500 ticket.
No, he just came and went. But I appreciate your help enforcing the laws of Portsmouth.
Dude,
how much did they pay you?
Sucks. Cabs in this town fucking blow. Sucking.
So I posted that, packaged it into a YouTube video, didn't identify the bouncer's name, didn't know his name. Got a call from a police officer, the same police officer from that video. Gave me a call a couple weeks later, said that the bouncer called to complain and that I'm potentially going to be charged with a Class B felony for wiretapping. The maximum sentence for felony wiretapping is 3 to 7 years in state prison. For a YouTube video?
The stories of Chris's arrest and Stephanie Franz brought a lot of media attention to Portsmouth, and Chris organized several demonstrations at City Hall where changes to the ordinance were being discussed. Several spoke during the public comment section, including Stephanie Franz. When Chris spoke, he reiterated his solution of complete deregulation.
We want to make the taxis happy too. Go one step further and do what Sarasota, Florida has done, what Collier County has done, and a number of other cities have done, and that is deregulate transportation services entirely. That is how you solve this overnight and make everyone happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher.
The pressure did rest on the city council to figure out a way to make everyone happy, but some, including Portsmouth City Mayor Robert Lister, grew visibly frustrated and felt the city council had already done enough.
You have to be able to follow the rules. That's all that we're asking. Uber keeps coming back and saying change it for this, change it for that. I'm not willing to do that. We're ready to go. There's plenty of business. All Uber has to do is follow the ordinance. So I'm not supporting this ordinance change at all. We have an ordinance. You want to be here? Follow the rules.
As of December 2015, Uber is still illegal, but still operating in Portsmouth. On December 21st, the City Council struck down Uber's proposed changes. Portsmouth will now have to wait until 2016 to potentially resolve the issue. Cab owners like Merle White believe it's a lost cause.
I think the city bent over backwards to allow Uber in here, and Uber had no intentions of complying with anything the city required. So they've been allowed to operate almost a year, taking money out of our pockets, and it's not right.
This is an extremely complicated issue, and Jim Splain has repeatedly said that Portsmouth wants Uber.
What I'd like everybody to know is that we've tried hard to find a way to be able to make this work, and I think we've done it. And if there are still some technical problems, small word changes that need to be done in the ordinance to allow a company like Uber to operate, let's work it out.
But until that is worked out with Uber as a company, individual drivers can pay a small fee to register with the city and operate legally.
Interestingly, right now, as the ordinance now stands, a driver for Uber just has to come into City Hall, go to the city clerk's office, pay $25 to register. Then they have to show their own criminal background check, or they go to the police department, which is in the same building, and verify that they do not have a criminal background. Then they have to have commercial insurance liability coverage for riders. And if they meet those two basic standards, they can be in business in the afternoon. Any Uber driver can do that, including Christopher David.
But for Christopher David, this goes beyond just a $25 fee and Uber. As technology continues to advance, he believes that the role of the government is going to become more and more obsolete. More peer-to-peer networks like Uber and Airbnb are going to continue to pop up, and we won't need the government to regulate so many aspects of our lives. The heart of the issue is technology moving faster than the government.
This is the future, that people should have the freedom to connect, and you, government, you dinosaurs, like, you're in the way. So evolve or die.